Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today let's go over the market, let's go over Tesla as per usual, and let's just discuss what happened for the week and what we can expect moving into next week. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Make your own decisions, do your own research. And of course, I have my membership that is now live where I post my intraday thoughts on Tesla as it moves throughout the day, and meaningful, important updates for $2.99 a month. The link is in the description, or you can press the join now button. But moving into it, so Tesla looking like it's actually doing a pretty decent day compared to the market, at least going up about 1.8%, putting us pretty much right smack on the dot, pretty much at $180. I mean, 11 cents, but pretty much at $180. So what does this mean? We talked about yesterday how most likely we're going to 180, right? That's pretty inevitable at this point. And the question really comes down to what happens next. So we're in a bit of a situation here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna, removing all bias aside. By the way, in case people are curious about, why I say certain things, or I don't have any position right now. As of today, my only position that I had, which was a bullish position, cash secured puts, did expire worthless. Essentially, I just soaked in the premium and that's it. And now I'm completely empty. I have no positions. So next week I will most likely be entering a new one, but I'll explain what I roughly plan on entering and kind of what I'm thinking here, right? So the most simple thing that I can possibly think of is, okay, so are we bullish here? We're at 180, we're at massive resistance. We gap filled, by the way, as well. If I go back to, let's say, the daily chart, you can see here, remove this for now. Right, we did gap fill, right? This level right here, which was essentially 180 and a half, right? Absolutely gap filled. We still have a slight gap above us at pretty much 184.34, something like that, right? Right up here. So that's still technically a possibility, right? But this whole rectangle I have right here, this like right above us, this like little cloud, if you will, should in theory, of course, be a pretty substantial area of resistance, turbulence, whatever you want to call it. So just keep that in mind. I personally view it like that. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean that Tesla just has to completely crash right here, right now. There is definitely a possibility of just consolidation. Now, I would be lying if I said that I didn't think Tesla looks a little bit more bullish than I initially expected, especially back when it broke out of this bear flag. So I might have to reevaluate this over the weekend and come back with a better, understanding of what the hell even just happened here, really, over there with this bear flag. I mean, I guess technically you can make the argument the fact that we did break out, but we consistently retested it and then broke back into it. But something about this feels a little bit off to me. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it right now, but there's something here that just doesn't smell quite right. You know what I mean? So we'll have to see how that plays out. But something here is just suspicious. Another thing to point out is the fact that we are essentially, maybe if you want a slightly longer or shorter time frame, we're potentially in this little bit of like a, I guess a bull flag, if you will, potentially here, right? Something like this, give or take. So this can absolutely resolve on Monday. And I wouldn't be surprised if it does resolve on Monday. And I actually wouldn't even be surprised if Monday we potentially come up to gap fill this 184. Because Tesla, like I said, looks a little bit more bullish than bearish. However, even with that being said, I still expect this overall area right here, this 180, 180s, if you will, 185 up to there maybe, to be just an overall area of resistance. I don't know exactly where it'll, stop, if you will. Maybe it'll just stop right here and go down. Maybe it'll go up here and go down. Maybe it'll go to the top of this and go down. Maybe it'll just, only just do the gap fill right there at 184 and go down. I don't know exactly where, but I do expect this area to be pretty substantial turbulence, right? So that's something to really, I guess, consider. I think that's pretty bullish. However, is the fact that obviously we're above the 100-day moving average, we're above the 21-day moving average. We talked about that yesterday or the day before, but we also closed above, the 50-day moving average as well, which was sitting at pretty much $178. So it's definitely a little bit of a weird situation that Tesla is in, Now, another thing to note that's very important is today, this Friday, was the expiration date, right? Which is essentially a lot of options expired today, like quite a bit as well. So, you have to keep in mind, right? You have to just think about this logically. And this is what I did as well, right? Because my options expired today as well. I had bullish options, right? Well, what does this really mean, right? So you have to think about it. Back when Tesla was sitting around these levels down here, maybe even down here, but especially like around over here, right? This, people were most likely entering options, whether it's calls, whether it's cash secured puts, whatever. And it's a pretty common date, especially around here, to do it about 40-ish days out, right? That's usually what the best-ish for theta sake. For options, for a date to choose for your options that you're buying or even selling, right? Now, with that being said, if you're buying the options here and buying calls, secured, cash secured puts, whatever, most likely bullish positions, because you have to be kind of ridiculous to buy bearish positions down here when you could have, bought up here, right? They're probably buying for today because that is the day. Usually around the middle, slightly past the middle of each month, that Friday is usually the best day to choose options for because the spread is usually quite little because of, very high liquidity, because that's what a lot of people choose. That's just kind of how it works. Because everyone chose that and because there was a lot of bullish options kind of pumping up, I guess, the market as well and Tesla as well, of course. Now that it has essentially expired today, there is a chance that, especially some of the calls are ending in the money, that we get a bit of a more, further pump on a Monday. That wouldn't surprise me at all, maybe up to that 184 level as those, shares are essentially being bought through those in the money options that most likely, or calls that expired, right? So that is a possibility and that will give us potentially a bit of an extra pump. But with that being said, I would be very cautious starting Tuesday. That's where I would be extremely cautious, and I do expect some red on Tuesday. That's just kind of what I'm projecting. Obviously, it could be completely wrong, just what I'm currently expecting as of right now, right? So maybe something like this, and then I do expect a red Tuesday. Now, the major question is, once that red happens, what is expected to happen? Like, what could be the bullish scenario? What could be the bearish scenario, right? To me, the bullish scenario is if Tesla doesn't really go far below, I would say, this area right here. If Tesla can come down to this area, worst case scenario, this area, and bounce, that's pretty bullish. However, I also wouldn't be surprised if Tesla actually comes down all the way to this level around here as well. Maybe does a bit of a double bottom. So let me zoom out a little bit here, maybe get a better view. For instance, let's say, I don't know, from here, right? Something like this, we get a nice little double bottom situation and then we rally back up. That to me wouldn't be surprising at all. And again, and I said this in my members section, to me, the 140s level of this gap fill are a little bit less likely. I wouldn't absolutely exclude them, right? But they do seem a little bit less likely with the way Tesla is moving. And it's showing a lot of strength, a bit more than I expected. So this would have been filled for sure if this bear flag played out correctly. If this retested, failed the retest, or I guess succeeded the retest really, and then came down, right? So for instance, it came down, failed or succeeded this retest and then moved all the way down here. That to me would have been what I definitely would have expected to happen, especially for this gap fill down here. The fact that it didn't happen and it actually not only re-entered but even went up to 180, even after falling out of that bear flag, makes the strength in Tesla a little bit stronger than I expected. So I still do think there is going to be red. Not everything goes down, not everything only goes up. That's just kind of how it works. But I do expect it to probably come down to somewhere around maybe 160, potentially even as low as that low 150s. That's kind of what I'm still waiting. It doesn't mean it has to happen like tomorrow or the day after, right? Could take some time, could get some consolidation, could potentially even set up like maybe a potential inverted, head and shoulders like this, right? You have to be, cautious with the market. It'll always find a way to make it as confusing for as many people as possible, which it's clearly very good at. But that's kind of the general idea as to what I personally expect moving forward for like maybe next week and even for honestly the rest of June potentially as well. So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. However, let's take a look at the bullish scenario, like the extra bullish, like if the bulls are expecting an even further run pretty much straight from here, or if we do retrace on, let's say Tuesday, and we do bounce, let's say from something like over here at 173-ish, right? What if that happens? Like what's next, Well, then I personally expect Tesla to move up even higher, probably to 190, maybe even 200. 200 to me is a little bit of a stretch, but that's not completely out of the equation. But I do expect if this kind of move down over here holds around this 170s, low 170s, maybe even as low as literally 170 itself, just this general area, that, that does make the situation a little bit even more bullish than I expected. And then, we get this extra rally and then we get an actual drawdown. So that's potentially what I am expecting right now. So it's gonna be really important to see how it does play out and how this next rejection does kind of, play itself out, if you will. So very, very important stuff. If you're curious what I'll be doing personally, now that I'm essentially completely neutral, my overall stance right now in Tesla is neutral with a slight bearish bias, right? Or not bias, but slightly bearish, I guess, but not overwhelmingly bearish and not overwhelmingly bullish. I'm a little bit neutral, slight bearish. But in case you're curious what I'll be personally looking for and doing in terms of trading, right? What I'll be doing is this. So I'll be waiting for the next red day on Tesla again. I'm probably expecting Tuesday. It could be Monday. I'm expecting Tuesday though, right? And then let's say we do come down somewhere to around the low 170s. I'll be looking to sell some cash secured puts, maybe about a quarter of my portfolio. Because again, I'm completely cash right now. So about a quarter of my portfolio, I'll probably sell cash secured puts somewhere in the 165s or so. And then I'll probably let that ride. If it comes down there and I'm forced to buy, so be it. No worries whatsoever. And then I'll continue buying the dip, right? Not an issue whatsoever. However, if we do get a bounce from here, then I have that premium I'll be soaking up and I'll potentially buy even a little bit of shares themselves on my second account as well. And then slowly work off of that. Is that if we do fall down, fantastic. I'll just continue, averaging down. No worries whatsoever. If you do rally up, well, I have skin in the game and I can enjoy this little pump up here that we potentially get before I think we'll go even lower. So that's the way I'm looking at it right now. And it's extremely important to me how this area will react next week. So that's what I'll eyeball. That's what I am eyeballing. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. The VIX is still just ridiculously weak. Very disappointing to look at the VIX like this. Just absolutely no fear in the market at all, apparently. However, with that being said, let me quickly pull something up very quickly here. On Twitter, there was some posts. Here we go. So, GOP negotiators have walked out of the debt limit talks, which is obviously not ideal. And Powell talking about, where was it? There was one, inflation above 2%, inflation now prolonged pain, FOMC strong commitment to 2% inflation, rates may not be needed to rise as high as. There was one post that I can't remember where it is, that was essentially talking about how he said something along the lines of how the market is thinking of rates or something the way that they're not supposed to be thinking. Something like that. I was reading it earlier on Twitter and I lost track of where it was. I thought it was here, but it wasn't. So regardless, it was a little bit of a bearish take, I guess, if you will, from Powell. So just keep that in mind that, can potentially drive these markets down even further. But before we finish off, let's take a very quick look at the market itself. And you can see QQQ potentially retesting this breakout right here. Not looking bad at all. SPY, not looking bad at all. Like the markets themselves don't look that bearish yet. They would have to fall, like SPY would have to fall below 415. QQQ would have to fall, at this point, I don't even know, man, below like maybe 330 at least, if not even 325 to really start looking bearish. However, with that being said, keep in mind the Bollinger Band on the daily for QQQ, you can see, I posted this in my member section as well, is just completely hugging the top side, right? This doesn't happen all that often before at least some drawdown. SPY, pretty much the same story, just completely hugging the top side of the Bollinger Band. Again, also doesn't happen that often before some downside. Tesla, pretty much the same thing. So just keep that in mind. That is just a little bit of caution thrown out there, right? So just keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. But that's about it for this video. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on Monday. Peace.